Welcome to Capes and Crossovers, the podcast where capes, masks, and multiverses collide. Not with fists or fandom wars, but with heart. I'm Luke Becker, here with my wonderful partner, Marvin Goines. We will be your guides through the wild, wonderful world of Marvel and DC projects. Here, we're ditching the toxicity and embracing the love, the sincerity, and the sheer joy these stories bring to the screen. Whether it's a team up, a reboot, or a universe shattering showdown, we're diving in with open minds and full on fandom. Grab your popcorn, suit up, and let's explore these worlds together. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the stories that unite us. Let's get started.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Capes and Crossovers. Took a 1 week break, but we are back to review the Thunderbolts and discuss a big cancellation in the DCU. But before we get into some of the kind of negative stuff, we're going to start with the positive, and that is the fact that me and Marvin have both seen Thunderbolts, and I think we're both feeling pretty good right now. Feeling pretty positive. But before we get to the movie, how are you?
Doing great, man. Got my final tomorrow, and then I get to start enjoying my summer vacation. And like I told you before we started recording, that I get to see Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning a couple weeks early. I'm going to be there next Monday in Dallas to see it with a good friend of mine.
That's awesome.
Like, it's just a great way to start off the summer, right? Good movies.
Yeah.
Because on Sunday I did a double feature. I went to work, got out, went to Sinners, came home, took a nap, and then I was like, you know what? I still got a little bit of energy, so I went and watched Thunderbolts, and I'm so glad I did. It was just great, and I'm really excited to talk about it because I really only have good things to say. I have one thing I don't like about it, but if you know me at all, you already know what it is, and it's not even
Oh,
that big
I
of a
know.
deal.
I know what it is. I know
Yeah,
exactly what it is.
and it's a valid point.
I disagree, but that's okay.
Respectfully, we
Yes,
respectfully disagree.
respectfully.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But how about you?
yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed that movie, dude. I mean, I was so happy. I mean, it's funny. I saw it twice. The first time I saw it, I liked it quite a bit, but I went in a little tired. I hate when I do this to myself. Sometimes I'll just go to a movie because I really want to see it. I'm like, I know I can't see it before this, but I want to make sure I get in on opening night. So I saw it at like 10 o'clock. I had work the next morning. I was
Yeah,
already
you said you're
tired.
like, oh, I give it a 7.5, and I'm like,
Yeah,
Dios mío. And then you're like,
right.
wait, never mind. I give it a 9. I'm like, okay.
And I know exactly what happened because I finished it, and the beginning of it, I guess because I was tired, it just felt really slow. And I was like,
Yeah.
and I had a feeling in my mind. I was like, I know myself. I think I was just a little tired. I'm gonna go see it again before I review this movie because I got to make sure I know if
Hmm.
I actually felt that or not. And then I went to go see it again, and it was right after work, and I was plenty awake, so I got it with fresh eyes, and I was like, wait a second, this was not slow at all. Actually, this is
No.
actually perfectly paced. Okay, I think I was,
I'd say the
yeah,
pacing was probably
really
one of the things
great.
I loved. I was like, wow, this doesn't feel like a 2 hour movie. Like, I was like, when the credits rolled, I'm like, oh wow, that it's
Yeah.
over. Like, whoa, hey, like I could have taken another 10 minutes. I wouldn't have been mad, but I was happy
Mhm.
with it. I've been championing that we go back to sub 2 hour movies because I'm kind of a busy guy sometimes. And I'm like, because I went back and looked, I'm like, it was 3 hours I was gone. I left the house at 9:45 and I got back home at 12:15. Right. And that's accounting for the driving as well. And I
Mhm.
was like, okay, so I left, got there because the showing started at 10, movie rolled at like 10:20. And then I walked out of the theater right at midnight, like
Mhm.
midnight almost on the dot, and then drove home.
Yeah.
And it like sucks. Like I got other things I got to do on a daily basis, weekly basis.
Mhm.
So when a movie can show up, make the time worth it, and like keep it concise, I'm always appreciative. And Thunderbolts did exactly that.
Yeah, man. I mean, that movie wastes no time getting to the point. I mean, immediately we start off with a bang, and honestly, looking at what they did, we saw. I mean, not to go into what we're going to go into later, but there's a lot of different rumors that were going on at different points about what the story was fully going to be like, and different characters that maybe changed in production as far as what their role was going to be,
Yeah.
and that was interesting because I'm watching that knowing certain context that maybe not everybody else has, and I'm like, oh, okay, so they took this route,
Yeah.
Taskmaster,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. That's
Task
definitely a big one.
right, that was interesting. I mean, I knew Taskmaster was gonna die. I mean, it was pretty obvious from just the way
Oh,
they were marketing the
if you
movie.
haven't watched Thunderbolts at this point, spoilers, heavy
Yes,
spoilers.
yes.
Just sorry, but
Sorry,
at the same
yeah,
time, also if you saw any marketing materials, you could pick that stuff up on your own. But moving forward, full spoilers,
yes. I will
disclaimer.
also I'll add that in the title, spoiler review. But yeah, no, I was surprised in the way it happened, I guess. I didn't think it was gonna happen so suddenly with Ghost. Like I always thought
Yeah,
going in, like without knowing exactly how it would happen, I was like, oh, Sentry's probably gonna freaking murder
that's exactly what I
Ghost.
thought. I
And
was
that's gonna
thinking,
be
I was
our
like, out of
first
anybody,
display.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right. I figured that would be our main display of Sentry's power and establish like, oh, this guy could kill people.
Yeah.
So the Thunderbolts are at risk of dying from this dude. And I thought that was going to happen early in the movie. But no, like we don't even see Sentry use his powers until like the last act, really.
Yeah,
So
which is also a
yeah,
shame because, like, imagine if Taskmaster tried to like copy him. She can't. Like, what was
yeah,
she gonna like?
right.
You, he doesn't have a fighting style. He's super powered. He's just like, oh look, I can move things with my mind. I have more physical strength than all of these people in front of me combined, and I can like move faster than any of them, and I can almost nearly phase. Like, what's that to me? It's nothing. Like, it's nothing. And
Hmm.
like Taskmaster would have been like, you know what? I'm gonna retreat probably,
Yeah.
but we didn't get that.
No, and it's interesting because the group, what stood out more than anything beyond the fact that they all had this shared aspect of trauma and mental illness is the fact that their chemistry, just as a cast, I thought was so great, honestly. All of them. I loved the way they interacted with each other. It really was reminiscent of the earlier days of the MCU, not to keep hitting on that nostalgic point that everybody keeps saying, but like I think there is some warranted aspects of that because I think that, well, beyond the fact that they kind of go back to basics in the structure of the story and the way it's put together, just looking at the fact that these characters, we haven't really seen a lot of these. Honestly, in phase 4, 5, all of this so far, that's the one thing I would say. We haven't really had a blend of worlds and characters in the way that I feel like we've seen in other phases prior. Like, and that's what
Yeah,
excites me so much about Doomsday, the fact that we're going to see all these characters finally interact. And I keep saying that because that is a really exciting point for me. And now, in a weird way, it's kind of like the culmination of a lot of Phase 4 characters. We're getting Yelena meeting John Walker. We're getting an underutilized character in Ghost coming back. We're getting Val as one of the main antagonists in this movie, kind of finally having her biggest role yet. And
yeah,
we're seeing Red Guardian come back into the fold again as Yelena's father. Like, we're getting all these different characters from Phase 4. And obviously, in the case of Ghost Phase 3, coming back, and they're all getting to interact and advance their characters and advance within the world of the MCU. And I think that's very exciting because there is a clear direction right now. And I think that's the one thing I will give some people credit for. I think some complaints about the MCU are a little silly sometimes. I think some are valid. And while I do think there has been direction, I do think that there has been a lack of clarity and a lack of fulfillment on things they set up. And it is very nice looking at this movie and saying, obviously the movie has to be good itself, but on top of that, when I finish it, I'm not just saying, oh, we'll probably see these characters again in 5 years if we're lucky. No, it's we're seeing these characters again next year. And they set up
yeah,
a storyline at the end of this that will directly continue a year from now, which
yeah,
is really cool that we're going to get such a direct follow up to this narrative in some ways and these characters. That's really exciting for me as a fan because with all the post credit scenes we've been getting, it's just like we might not ever see a follow up, and if we do, it's not going to be soon. So
yeah,
and that sucks as a fan because I liked when the whole thing was for a lot of them honestly the post credit scenes would be directed by someone doing another movie and they
or
film
the
it
one
on
that
that
it was
set.
leading
Right.
towards. Yeah,
Like you
yeah,
look at Doctor Strange at the end of that one, you get Thor Ragnarok, you get a scene from that happened,
hmm,
and you go across all these movies like. it's directly a movie that's going to follow it within the next year, pretty much in all of them, or as something they're clearly building towards, and it's a big tease, but they capitalize on it soon enough. So
Yeah.
this was the first time in a while where I was like, you know what? That was really great. They set up the storyline of where we're going, but they also fulfilled what this movie needed to do, and it felt like I was thoroughly satisfied on the level of being a just a Marvel fan and a movie fan, even honestly. It was just a good movie.
One thing I noticed in this film, the way it started is, and I'm not saying every movie has done this, but a
Mhm.
lot of post Endgame movies have done, is when they open with the villain. This one didn't. It opened with Yelena. Shang-Chi,
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok, and Ragnarok
Um,
Infinity Saga, my friend.
oh, not Ragnarok. I meant Love and Thunder. Sorry.
Yeah, Love and Thunder, exactly. And uh Quantumania, like
Yeah.
a lot of them have started where like, oh hey, we're gonna frame the villain, like these are their motivations, or here's their introduction. Like I really like the fact that we went straight into who is technically the main character of this movie is Yelena. We went
Mhm.
right into her and like cutting to her face where you can see the lack of fulfillment because she talks about that
Yes.
later on was just like really great. I love that they kind of switched it up because at the end of the day, you're there for those main characters. I love the villains. I still think that Christian Bale was grossly misused
Yeah.
in Thor: Love and Thunder, and I don't even really want to talk about Quantumania. But the point being is like it was nice for them to go back to how they were doing it before.
Mhm.
I know in the Infinity Saga, there were a couple times where they started off with the villain as well, like what I'm speaking of. But like there was a blend, but like it felt for a moment where they were repeatedly doing this thing with the villains to the point I'm like, why are we making this the trend?
Mhm.
Especially with those movies, because those were not that great. So it was nice, like a movie that was this good. Started off with the main character who was excellent, portrayed excellent by a fantastic actress, and just going back into it, like this is the crux of the movie that she lacks fulfillment, that she's struggling with stuff, and we go right into her and seeing her get to work.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Opening on Yelena was really smart, and like you said, she is the main character. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Looking at her struggle with mental health was really powerful in this movie, honestly, and I was impressed by the bold storytelling approach in this because this is not a plot-driven film. This is a,
Character.
character-driven film.
Yeah.
Yeah, just watching all of them develop and build these relationships with each other. I mean, even just looking at like the scene in the elevator shaft when they're going up, like it's almost like you're watching a team building exercise, quite literally. Like seeing how that plays out is very fun, and seeing how they all relate to the struggle. I mean, this literal call to the void that you're seeing with all these characters is so interesting, and it's dark, and I
Yeah.
mean, just the
Also,
op
the film was literally dark. I'm not saying this in a
yes,
negative way, but
no,
like there
no,
were just so many moments where you're just like, I had to squint. My eyesight's not very good. That's why I wear glasses because I can't see for shit, to be honest. Like my eyesight's just not good. Um, but like when things are dark, I kind of struggle with them a little bit. And there was a lot of scenes where I was like, I can't really make out what's happening. Like when John Walker jumped inside the elevator shaft, I couldn't. I thought he was climbing up the side of it, and then he fell down. I'm like, oh, he jumped. Like that was really bad for me. I'm not again not saying it's a negative, but there were some things I'm like, oh, this is a bit of a struggle. Maybe if I would have seen it in a more premium format, because I watched it just like in standard screen,
Mhm.
but there was a lot of moments where I'm like, oh, this is kind of tough. Or like when they attack the watchtower and they're on that first floor, like when they jump out of that van or truck.
Interesting. I didn't notice
Yeah,
that honestly. It's interesting.
yeah, it's just really it was there. I'm not saying like it's a lighting thing. It was just, but it's framed that way and it works for what it is. I just think that since I went to a cheaper theater, it probably just didn't look as good. I'm
Maybe.
sure, like on Dolby or IMAX, it looked incredible. It just in my case, it wasn't. So it was kind of tough.
Mhm.
And along with the scenes where they were inside the void itself were a little tough. Like the one for Bob himself, like inside of his family house, that was really hard to actually visually see.
Huh.
Or
Okay.
when they were at
Interesting.
the bottom of that compound when they were getting Bob out, Also hard to see.
That was the only time I really noticed it for me, at least, when they were at the bottom and they're the soldiers are coming in.
That yeah.
There were a couple moments during that fight where I thought it was a little dark, maybe. That was the only time I noticed it, but I know what you're saying though. And the movie in general though is dark and gray, but it's not like the
Not gray like
like
washed out, but just
end
like
game gray. It's like
yeah, yeah.
it's a color graded, distinct style they're going for,
Which it works
and it
excellent.
works.
It's
Yeah,
great. I just like
right.
for someone who struggles with sight, it's like a whole different ballgame. I'm like, oh man, what did I like? There were some things I just literally, in the most literal sense, I did not see them until I'm like, oh, okay. Or like when Bob came out of the compound and they're like running around the camp outside of it. That was hard. That was hard for
Right.
me.
I mean, literally that opening shot with Yelena, even yeah, you could see it clearly, but like
That one
there's
was
such
good. Yeah,
yes, but there's such a feeling of like dread with the lighting they're using
yeah.
there. Like you can really just feel it in the way they filmed this, and I love just the way the theme they do with her, where like every time she's answering this both literal and non-literal call to the void, like she takes this deep breath before like she's accepting what's gonna
Oh,
happen
I
every
didn't
time.
notice that.
Oh yeah, every single I didn't notice the first time. Second time I picked up on it, like
Oh,
right
I didn't tell you
before
what happened though. In my
what?
screening, these two old guys showed up, sat in a row in front of me, and were talking loudly like this during the whole movie for about 40
Oh.
minutes. They left
God.
around the time that the group like got out of the compound and then they didn't come back. Thank God. But it was, oh man, it just the disrespect
And
was.
I hate that shit so
And
much.
I'm like, I live in Texas. If I would have said anything, one of them would have pulled a gun on me. And I'm not even exaggerating. Like, that's just the reality of where I live.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, I can't face these dudes. I was by myself. If I would have had like a couple homies, I would have probably said something. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. But they were like, they weren't even talking about the movie. It was hard, bro. Like it was tough. And I already have trouble hearing in the theater because, like I said, I go to a cheaper theater, so
Mm.
their sound system isn't like awesome or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why like I'm so excited about that Mission Impossible screening. I'm going to a really nice AMC. Like it's gonna be great. But in this case, there was a struggle, and I'm like, no, it's okay. Just kind of it'll pass, it'll pass. And then they finally got up and left. And then that second half was a lot easier to like understand.
Right.
But I wanted to go into our questions, like I kind of set up some discussion
Mhm.
points. What did you love the most about Thunderbolts?
Probably if I had to pick one thing, it's the theme of mental health. I think that was what really makes the movie work. If you don't have that, I don't think the chemistry works as well. I don't think emotionally the audience feels what they end up feeling, and the movie would kind of fall flat. If they didn't treat it seriously or with respect, this movie falls flat on its face, and we're laughing at it in the way we have for a lot of Marvel movies recently, I think for some people at least. So I think that was a major win by the writers and Jake Schreier to really handle that kind of story with the delicate care we saw. And also, I will note one more big positive because I think it's just as important for me. And he mentioned this himself that with such a human story, that the movie needs to feel human in the approach to the filmmaking. And the fact that they did so much practical work,
Yeah.
they filmed in so many real locations. Like even during that whole void sequence at the end, like so much of that is practical. Like her falling from the winter location into the table of the red room, like they literally like that happens. They filmed that her going through the floor and landing on the
Hmm.
table, like her literally jumping off the world's tallest building in the beginning. Like all these things are legitimately filmed, and that is something you can feel. Like I'm not looking at this ever and questioning what's happening. It's all real, and I'm experiencing it alongside the characters in a very authentic way. So props to the filmmakers for both of those things. Yeah.
Um, Kind of building off of what you're saying, but what I loved is how they weren't really shy about showing exactly what those things were,
Yeah.
like repeatedly showing Yelena when she got that young girl killed, or showing Yelena, looking at a version of herself drinking vodka straight from the bottle,
Mm.
or showing Bucky, or not Bucky, I'm sorry, John Walker, where like he's having that moment with his child and his wife, and he just like there's so this isn't a movie I wanted, and I'm not saying this in a bad way. I'm
Yeah.
saying this is the movie I needed.
Yes.
I struggle with mental health. I mean, almost everybody does. And I had like a really bad moment a week ago. Like I had just gotten really good news, and then like 5 minutes later, like some voice in the back of my head was just like, "You're not doing enough. You're not working hard. Like you need to do more." And it like threw my whole day off. And I was doing just fine up until that point. But then, like I watched this movie and I'm like, this is the movie I needed right now to know that like people, and I know this is fiction, that's okay, but it's good to know that like people with superpowers and crazy abilities have a relatability, and the whole film is relatable. Like where Yelena's talking about in the open, like I lacked purpose, I didn't know what to do, I struggled. That's where I was for like the last few years before I came upon where I am currently. Like at this moment, I know what I need to do. I'm working towards it and doing so. But like seeing Marvel do that and making that the main thing was incredible because
Mhm.
I kind of needed to hear it. And it came at the exact moment I needed to hear it as well. So I will forever love this movie just for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the fact that it's able to touch so many people like it did with you, obviously, that's such a major point that focus that really just so shows how successful they are in their storytelling here. Because
Yeah.
you're not alone there. So many people talked about that after the movie. The fact that just they can resonate with these characters and what they went through so much. And I think that's so empowering, especially like you said, when you're looking at these superpowered beings, these heroes, these characters that are larger than life in some cases, it feels like, but they go through the same struggles as everybody, man. And I think that's really handled delicately here, and I respect that, man. I respect the hell out of Jake Schreier for this effort.
Yeah, I was really impressed when they were like, they didn't skirt around the issue with Bob. Because I
No.
was thinking they were going to say, like, oh, he's got a drug issue. He's got a meth issue, which is like a pandemic that we actually have happening in the United States. Like, there is a huge problem with fentanyl and other things. And for them to just say it outright,
Hmm.
like Deadpool and Wolverine made jokes about cocaine or the lack of cocaine. And I was like, okay, like cocaine addiction is a really serious thing. So like, that was one I was just kind of like, I've always like, okay, it's funny because it's Deadpool. But like for them to go in with Century and saying the dude had a meth addiction, like people don't understand how hard that is for people who do have that. And that he decided like his avenue was to go and try to find himself in Southeast Asia, which is something that people also do, was incredible. Like he really
Hmm.
grabbed somebody's real life story and then incorporated it into the screen.
Right.
I'm incredibly impressed that it got past one and two that they handle it so delicately because they
Uh,
could have made that some stupid punchline. They didn't. They kept that serious from the start to the finish, and that's what really, really got me.
I will say this. I like the way they handled it mostly, but it's the one thing if I were writing the movie, granted, I'm not writing the movie, but if I were, I think I would have gone even a little further with it, honestly, with the meth stuff. Only
Really?
because, I mean, just Sentry's character, just as somebody who's read his comics, like the drug addiction is such a major part of what he has to deal with and why he is so screwed up, why he ends up going. And well, obviously, this part I don't mind because I don't mind deviating from the comics in certain ways. Here, he goes to a test trial because he wants to feel stronger, he wants to feel better. In the case of like the comics, it's almost like he's looking for a new high and is kind of hoping
Wow.
he can figure something out with this serum, and he kind of becomes this golden god hero,
Yeah.
and it's not what he was thinking it would be. So it was more of him kind of continuing to fall into this addiction is what gets him into being the Sentry. And I'm cool with going this route, but I would have just highlighted maybe a little more the fact that he's addicted to meth and like maybe I know that we're never going to really show like anything like that, but I would have enjoyed seeing just how much that was a struggle for him, like actually using the drug at his home and coming to that decision, like I need to stop this. I need to go to South Asia and figure stuff out. If I had gotten to see that, I would have really liked that. But I didn't need it. It doesn't
Yep.
like ruin the movie or anything or ruin his character at all. It's more of just that would have maybe added that personally, as is like if I was going to tell this story. But hey, what they did, I think it works. And more than anything, you resonate, you feel what the character is going through. And if they did that, then in the end, they did their job. As long as you are able to understand what this character is struggling with, which I think everybody did, because Lewis Pullman is the one that everybody is
Talks
raving about.
about, yeah,
Right. It's
it's great.
him and Florence Pugh. Those are the two people that every single person came out of that theater saying, wow, they were amazing. And you know what? Their chemistry, man, was probably the best part. Their relationship developing across this movie was so beautiful. Like I got chills, man, at the scene when he they get out of the incinerator and he's kind of just like, maybe you should just leave me here. And she's like, why? He's like, probably be better off. Like Like
Mm.
simply saying like I'm better off dead. Like my
Yeah.
life is worth nothing. And just it was how it's handled in just a subtle way. It's not like he's not directly saying like, "Oh, I want to kill myself," but at the same time it's like he
I
thinks his
wouldn't. It
life
wouldn't
is
be bad
so
if I was
yeah,
dead. Yeah.
like it wouldn't
Yeah.
be bad. And I like the way that they handled that because it was very serious. Like the
Yeah.
conversation between him and Yelena, and you could see in her face like she gets it, man. I mean, look at her. Like I was saying before, this idea and this theme with her taking this deep breath, like right before she falls off the building. I to me it comes off as like I'm accepting that if I die, it's kind of whatever. And
Oh
like
yeah.
in that you can see that too, even when she walks into the void, I feel like when
It was like surrendering herself
right,
almost, right? Like
exactly,
I'm giving into this.
right.
If I die, oh well.
Oh
If I
well,
don't, oh well. Like
exactly,
either way, she accepts the fate, regardless of what it is, or ended up being for
100%.
her.
And
Yeah.
I think it's empowering because earlier in the movie, it felt more of like a weak surrender, like hey, if I die,
Yeah.
I die. At that point, it's like I will face death potentially strong, and I don't care. I'm gonna do what I got to do. And the way she
Yeah.
walks in was very powerful, but it also does contribute to that theme, like you were saying. If she dies, she dies. But also, I think she's ready to overcome this void, and we see that quite literally with the void as a character here. And I think that it's so beautiful. Yeah, man, it's just a special movie. I really enjoyed everything for the most part.
For sure. Yeah, yeah. Like, which kind of segues me
Yeah, exactly.
into the next one. What did you not like? And can I go first on this one?
Yeah,
Because
go
you already know
first.
the answer. Red Guardian.
I
I find him
know, I
annoying,
know.
and I've been saying it for the longest time, and I was hoping he'd be the one to die. But I'll be I'll be honest, I'm a little surprised that like
Mm,
I didn't find him as annoying as I normally do. Like they showed his most annoying bits in the trailers, so like I'd already seen it, so I didn't have to like
right.
endure more. So like I wasn't that bothered. And honestly, when he's in the limo, like convoying them out of there, and he flicks the switch and Pony by Genuine comes on, I actually laughed really fucking hard. I was like, all right, that's good. You got me there. I'm not mad at it. That was funny. That was actually funny. But it was really cool to see the two moments with him. One in the beginning where he's
Yes.
living 1 block away from Baltimore and he's like reliving glory days by rewatching old videos of himself.
Hmm.
Um, and then he has like that moment where he talks to Elena because she comes to, speak with him. And then the other one where he like admits to her that he had kept a distance because he was struggling with stuff himself right
Yes.
before they entered the void. So like when I walked out of the movie, I'm like, I give it a 4.9 because of Red Guardian. But honestly, the movie's still 5 stars out of 5 for me.
Hmm.
Like I'm yes, he is annoying, but I'm just really glad they didn't spend a whole lot of time of it. It's just like the stuff they showed in the trailer, like we are the Thunderbolts, and he kept saying that over and over. Or when he's yelling when Bucky has them
Yeah,
uh
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in that gas station,
Well,
whatever.
when
Like,
they agree to go fight the void, he's like, yeah,
yeah, and I'm like,
yeah.
okay, dude, okay, like simmer down now. Everybody else here feels so very reluctant to do this, and you're like all super excited. But I get it, like he was trying to find his purpose.
Right. And
But
that's
other
what
than that,
yeah, yeah.
it's like it's forgivable. I'm not like, oh, this ruins the movie. Like, I'm not gonna be like that. I still liked him still
Hmm.
in the movie as well. I just, you know, he's
Honestly
still
though,
annoying though.
like I liked him more in this movie definitely than Black Widow. I
Oh, for
definitely agree with
sure.
that.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, he was so annoying in Black Widow. That's why I was like, that's why I was worried. I was like, he was so annoying in Black Widow. I just don't want them to like really stretch out that same joke. And they didn't.
Well, he felt more like a character in this movie. I mean, to me at
Then a
least.
caricature.
Right. Like it's funny, at the beginning of Black Widow, I love him before he's the Red Guardian. Like I really love him in the opening scenes with the kids and like he's just being a dad.
Yeah.
Like he's very relatable in those scenes. And even in some scenes later in the movie, like I really like the scene where he's trying to talk to Elena in the bedroom in Black Widow and they start singing
Yeah.
American Pie. That's a beautiful moment.
That was
And
a
I
nice
and I
moment.
felt like we got more of that Red Guardian in this movie than that movie. I think that's the big difference. I mean, he felt like a father. That
Yep.
was the big thing. He really felt like a father in
when,
this
when he
movie
showed
to
up to save them,
right.
it's like, it's your
I
dad. I was
I
like, all
was
right,
so
that was
I
actually
love
really
that.
funny. That was
It was
great.
so cute. He was like a
Yeah, yeah.
proud father, like there for his daughter, like
But she's
picking her
just
up from
like,
school. Exactly. Like that
don't worry
stuff
about
was
it.
great.
Yeah, that was
Like
actually good. That's why I said I give it a
right.
4.9. I'm like, he was annoying, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been because it could have been so much worse.
Yeah, no, I was really happy with him in this movie. And like you said, the scene before they she goes into the void, I thought that was an amazing scene. I really loved their conversation.
Yeah.
He
So
that
so what did you
yeah.
not like about the movie though?
Um it's honestly for me just Ghost and Taskmaster. For me, that's the big thing. But Ghost, and honestly, I enjoyed the performance from the actress for Ghost. My issue is more that I would have liked a little more about her trauma, even though we know it already. Like they mentioned it very briefly, like when they're going up the elevator shaft, they're comparing each other's trauma, like as a
Yeah.
joke, and that was fine. Like I enjoy that, but like I would have really liked to see her void. I think it felt a little odd that we saw two of the main Thunderbolts, but not hers specifically. Like honestly, like I could
Well,
have
we already
even
saw it in Ant-Man and the Wasp though.
well, yeah, but we also already know kind of what John Walker's issues are. We already know what.
Well, we knew, but like we actually got to see it because we didn't know about the kid. Like his wife was pregnant
The
in
kid is
Falcon and Winter
different.
Soldier.
I'll give
I
you
mean,
that.
there's that.
The kid's a little different, but I mean, to a degree, I feel like you could have, for new audiences especially, we haven't seen this character since what, 2018?
2018.
Like we're talking
Right. It's
six,
been a while. 7 years.
7 years. Like I think you could have given a little more to just highlight that, and also. Especially, I understand this got cut, and I'll just mention it now because it kind of applies to this. But the whole they were going to do the Ghost and Taskmaster like friendship thing in this movie originally. That was going to be like a big part of this.
They were also going to add Bill Foster.
Right. And
Yeah.
I think he was going to have cancer. That was like part of the storyline. But
Uh,
and that I think honestly I'm not sure if how this would have impacted the pacing obviously, so I'm not going to say the
right.
movie would have been better or worse with it because I don't know.
Mhm.
But at least on paper to me like if the elements of those characters if you had added that into the movie I think I maybe even would have gone up to that 5 out of 5 for me honestly. 'Cause that was the one thing I'm like I wish they did a little more with her.
A little more.
Even with
Yeah.
the action sequences, I wish they could have gave her like a moment,
Right.
like a little bit more of a moment for me. I think that would have been really, really awesome. But and as far as Taskmaster, it's one of those things where like I have to remove myself from being a comics fan because it's like, you know what? Objectively, there were no promises made for this character, like as far as their role in this movie. So I'm not gonna sit here and judge the movie because oh, I didn't get enough of Taskmaster because I don't think that's fair because they this is the decision they made for this movie. Taskmaster is not going to be a real part of this team, and that's fine. That's their choice. So I can't like dock a bunch of points because they wasted the character because like that's not an objective criticism to me. That's what they chose to do, and the rest of the movie works without Taskmaster. So why does it matter? But the one thing I'll note though is I felt like they could have at least, if you are going to do that, they have one line where they said like she had a hard life when they're just when Yelena is discussing her with Ghost for like
Hmm.
maybe like 2 or 3 seconds. I would have liked maybe a little more focus on that. Not like a giant thing, but I would have liked maybe like a full scene of them discussing like the fact that she was a person and we killed her
Yeah.
and she had struggles like us and maybe focusing a little more on that than just like a throwaway line or two. I think that could have been a bigger idea or theme in the movie to at least have her death resonate a little more throughout the film's runtime instead of it kind of just being forgotten basically after the beginning that's really the two things I look back on off top. And this isn't a criticism, just something I'm going to note, just because why not? I would have loved to see a little more of Sentry fighting in the suit. This is
Oh, that
more
would have been neat. Yeah.
that's not even a criticism because it works. It's just like, man, I wish we could have gotten a little more, but what we got
Yeah.
was so good.
Yeah,
Oh,
because it like even in that moment, it showed how powerful he really was.
I mean, he was
Did
using a
you want to?
fraction of his power. Sorry, what were you
Yeah,
gonna say?
I was just gonna say, do you want to do like the character breakdown? Because then that way we
Yes,
can like really go into him.
yes,
So let's start with John Walker, just because I don't know why not.
sure.
What I liked about John Walker was that they showed the scene with him and his kid, and that he was really heavily weighed by what happened, and he got really defensive too, because like they're like, "Yo, you're the dime store Captain America. You
Yeah.
killed a guy, innocent guy." Like he got really upset. Like he has thin skin, and like as Captain America, you can't.
Hmm.
You're a symbol for many things, and you have to like rise above that, which Sam Wilson handles great. Sam knows that there's people going to criticize him just because he's a black Captain
Right.
America or he doesn't have the super soldier serum, and it doesn't affect him. Like we saw in Cap 4, he just wanted to get to work. But on the other hand, you have John Walker, who's a white man and has the super soldier serum, And like even the little things really got to him. Like he sat there and was reading that article about himself, and it was clearly getting to him. And the comments made by the women to him in the show, in the movie
Yes.
of Thunderbolts, he was just like, hey, like, hey, hold on, let me hear, let me say my side of the story. Like
Hmm.
clearly, he proves that he was never the right person for Captain America. And
Hmm.
I love that they used a really good chance to highlight that in this movie.
Yeah. It's funny looking back on the character, going back to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because it felt like I remember at the time, like Wyatt Russell wasn't he receiving like death threats from people, like "you're not my Cap," like it was crazy. Like the actor was getting like so much scrutiny because of how much people hated the character, but at the same time, it's people just get that cross sometimes, where
Yep.
like you hate the character because he's a douche, but that means he did his
That's not what the
job.
person is. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Like the actor did his job so well. That's
Yep.
why you feel this way.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be doing that. But like to add to this though, I think they really did a good job of continuing to highlight he is a douche, but also like you said, the fact of the matter is he never was the right person for Captain America, but it doesn't mean he was necessarily always a bad person. He's just
Right.
flawed. And he
Yeah.
never really was right for this kind of position. And he was chosen and he had the highest of the high expectations here. I mean, to be Captain America, to fill the shoes of Steve Rogers, like there's so much that comes with that, and especially not being a super soldier for someone that, like you said, is very thin-skinned. Like the way that hurts his ego we saw in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's why he takes the serum. He just can't handle that, knowing that he's
Yeah,
just
got beat by
yeah,
Dora
right,
Milaje and everything.
exactly.
Like that was his reaction to like losing one fight.
Right.
One.
So, and you look at what Sam is doing, he still doesn't have the serum and he's fighting a Hulk.
Yeah.
Like,
And
obviously,
wins,
and
sort of.
wins. I mean, obviously he has tech and everything, but still, like, the point is he's brave enough to do that regardless of the any serum. And it doesn't hurt his ego. He's fighting through and is doing what he has to do because he's Cap.
Yeah. And,
John Walker. Yeah,
and
right.
Sam is even willing to joke like I should have taken the serum, but yet he continues to fight. At any moment he could have always backed
Uh-huh.
down and said I'm good. But like even John Walker himself he retreated with the rest of the Thunderbolts when Sentry
Yeah.
started beating their asses.
Yep.
Um, one thing I want to note is I personally expected that the void scene for John was going to be the horrors of war that him and Lamar went through.
Yeah.
Remember how they talk about? They're like, imagine if
Yeah.
we would have had the super soldier serum, like what we could have done. Like I
Uh-huh.
really thought that was going to be it, which I have no problem with what they selected. I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
expecting it because, like, I'm sure that's like a huge regret in his life that they did something questionable to succeed the mission because he doesn't seem particularly proud of his what was it, Purple Heart that he received,
No, not at
or
all.
Medal of Honor or whatever. The medals, the awards he
Yeah.
received, like he doesn't seem particularly like proud of himself for what he had to do to obtain those. And I
Right.
was thinking that would be like a great source of shame, and that would have been the moment we would have seen on the Void, but it wasn't.
Mhm.
Again, the one they chose was still great because it still highlights those same things. I just expected something different.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think that would have been another great alternative that would have worked just as well. It would have captured a different darkness, but still a very important part of this character. The fact that he's had to go through all these things, and it's a big part of why he wants this power. Because in his mind, he's trying to do the right thing. He wants to protect people, but at the same time, he can't control his ego. He can't keep that in check. Ooh, launching machine. Dang it. Shut
I
up.
hear that.
All right, there we go. Now, what I was
Sounds
gonna
like
say.
Beastie Boys.
Yeah, right. Um,
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. What I was gonna say was though that looking at this character though, oh god, I lost my train of thought because of the launching machine. I had it. You to go take over. I lost my thought.
So, just John Walker, that he's had these moments, and
Also,
that he's so thin-skinned about everything, and it was just incredible how they managed to show that without like being really in your face with it. It was just like little things, like small comments, because the girls were making jokes. They
yeah.
were literally just joking. They weren't like being super serious. They're just being snarky because they're in this room with this dude. They're about to die. So what else are you gonna do? Handle it with humor. And he's like, whoa, hold on, and he gets super defensive about it. So.
Hmm.
Uh, but then like what really got me was just him sitting there wallowing
Yes.
in defeat reading that article while his kid's crying right next to him, not in the
Uh-huh.
other room but like directly beside him.
Yeah.
And his wife comes in, and what's he do? Like, here, you take him, you figure it out. You like his outburst
Yeah.
is also relatable, like to feel like a failure after you've hit pinnacles. I mean, he was the
Oh.
most decorated soldier. He was captain. If did you remember?
Yes, I did.
Go, 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 go.
I just remembered. Okay, 'cause I was gonna say that like I still remember they had that scene in when he's talking with Lamar and they're talking about the serum and he's like, do you think that taking this serum is gonna make me this hero? And he's like, I think it just makes you more of who you are, right? And that's where they talked about like the shame of what they had to do. I remember it was in that scene, I think, actually. And he's saying like, yeah, I mean, I had to do some pretty bad things, man. Am I really like this
Yeah.
this figure? And it's funny, you get the same idea even with Sentry in this movie because they specifically say like it's irresponsible to give somebody like that this power because it's just gonna make you more of what you are. It made John Walker an even
More of an
bigger
asshole.
asshole,
Because
right?
they keep calling him asshole, and he
Exactly.
was. He
He
was in
was.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. In this movie, John Walker
He's
was
an
an
asshole.
asshole the whole
And
time.
and then Century, he becomes even more like disassociative and more psychopathic essentially. Like he can't control himself anymore and he doesn't know how to delineate this void and this light side to him. It gets
Yeah,
even worse now. So like I think that theme rings true for both characters and in this movie, but it's really interesting. I love how they handled John Walker, honestly. I thought he was a really,
it's
really
just
fun addition to this cast.
it's so funny how he measures himself by his accomplishments. He goes, "Hold on, also back to back to back football champions. Like this has zero relevance whatsoever to the mission, but like you can see by what he manages to bring up in conversation that he doesn't see his success whether or not he saved people. It's whether he got an accomplishment that he can, make a bullet point on his resume.
Hmm. It's I'm thinking about all the times he called Robert Bobby throughout
Bobby.
the whole movie.
Yeah.
And it's I
Yeah.
didn't pick up on this too, but someone noted that I thought this was interesting. The fact that his father calls him Bobby too in the movie. I didn't even notice that until someone I was like, oh
Yeah. I
crap.
saw that tweet earlier
That
this
was
morning and
and
I was like, yeah, that's crazy.
that recontextualizes some of those scenes for me now that I'm thinking.
Yep.
I was like, oh wow, that changes a little bit. But
Yep. So let's move to
great.
Ghost.
Uh yeah, this will be a brief discussion for me, honestly. But
I mean, you already kind of shared your piece.
yeah,
I like I said earlier, we got a little bit of her backstory in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but like you mentioned that it was 7 years ago, so it's been a little while, and a lot of people probably didn't watch that one. Maybe they did because it was like a lead-in into Endgame, because the events of that kind of, like set off the fuse for how they came across how they were going to fix everything. But
Mhm.
I was okay with what they did with Ghost. I do agree that they could have done a little more, but again, we've mentioned that the pacing was well put, and I can imagine that because what I'm thinking about is as far as the Void, you had 3 different Void scenes with Elena, you had 2 different Void scenes with Bob, and then you had one with John. So that's one, two, three. That's
Oh, and
6.
and you have
And at
Val
some
actually.
Oh yeah, that's well.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So I mean, like at some point, it would have felt like repetitive and like almost beating you over the head. Like, look, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to this person. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to this person. And at some point, I could see the audiences getting either like bored or tired with it and asking, why are we seeing this?
Hmm.
Because again, the focus of this movie was Yelena, and that's why they gave her 3 different moments.
Right.
John, I'm actually surprised that he got one, but I understand why they contextualize it this way. Like
Uh-huh.
to shy away from like the whole moment of him killing his Captain America to more like this is what happened after that moment,
After.
and
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is where
yeah.
he's at now.
Right.
So I mean, if they could have kept it brief, they should have inserted it. But I'm not upset with what they did.
Honestly, I would have done without Val's now that I think about it because
I agree.
it didn't really do anything.
No, it did not.
Like you could have just swapped that with a scene for Ghost, and I think that would have done more for the movie. But
Yeah, because
yeah,
I don't even really understand why they did it. So,
it's
like,
like
was it just to
yeah,
like to scare Val or to like trigger something? Because Val
right.
didn't change, nothing
No,
shifted. There was no difference. Like the moment before and the moment after, she was the exact same person. Nothing
exactly.
changed. So I'm in agreement with you. They could have undone
Yeah,
Val's and they could have done Ghost and it would have been great.
yeah,
Um, I think we should save Yelena for last, just
yeah.
because she's
Sure.
central. So let's go to Bucky. I don't know if you saw this, but you probably have. But somebody noticed that when Bucky jumps in to that one scene in the Void, is that he comes out of that room where they turn him into the Winter Soldier.
Wait, when he say it again? When he?
So when he enters that bedroom with the rest of the
Oh
Thunderbolts,
yeah,
and there's like
yeah.
in the background you can see like a cutout of the wall, and you see that room where he was becoming the Winter Soldier, like
Oh,
where they had the
crap.
machine pressing on his
No,
head.
I didn't notice that. Wow.
Oh man, you'll see it. You'll see it after
Okay.
this. But like you can see the chair and you can see the room.
Hmm.
It was just really neat. And but I really loved the way he said, "Yeah, you know
Yeah.
me. I had a great past." Like it's
Yeah.
like, damn, dude. Like, yeah, like, and for him, it was the most understandable to not
Yes.
address that because we've
Yes,
had
for
one,
sure.
two, three, what, four
His
movies.
whole character is
His whole
trauma.
character,
We don't need
yeah,
we don't need to
yeah.
see that again. That's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did it in Winter Soldier heavily. We did it in Civil War heavily. We did it as a post-credit scene in Black Panther a little bit.
Hmm.
There were moments of it in Infinity War. We did plenty of it, more than enough in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So like I'm glad that they didn't waste our time because if you know Bucky at all, you know like you don't really need your handheld. So I'm glad they handled it that way.
Hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. I think they handled his character very well. It's better not to show it. I agree. What's the point? You've already had so many projects dedicated to that. And honestly, he was just all vibes in this movie, man.
I
Just
love it.
vibes. And I mean that in the
Bucky's
best
always great.
I mean that in the best way. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
the way he comes rolling in on that motorcycle, man. He's a Terminator. It's
Just
so cool. It
dude,
was
he just
so
went.
cool.
John Walker's like,
Yeah,
oh look, it's Bucky.
Bucky.
Oh shit!
That was
Like
so
that
funny.
shift was like that. I'm like, yeah, Bucky. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, they
Oh.
are so screwed. They are so screwed.
Yeah, dude.
Uh,
I love honestly the congressman story was funny. I thought that was entertaining. You know, it's like a ve- honestly, I remember when I first saw the movie the first time, that was one thing I didn't like actually, although it grew on me the second watch. I didn't mind it so much. But I could have even used a little more of that honestly. I would have liked to know like why he got into Congress, like
politics.
what his reasoning was, why he really wanted to make that push because they don't really talk
I'd say
about it.
probably after the events of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, where he felt like he could do more that wasn't just using his fist. Like he's a fighter, but he
Right.
didn't have to fight physically. So I guess he felt compelled, like, well, let me fight on another stage that can get me to do more.
Yeah,
Although
yeah, yeah.
apparently he didn't even pass a single bill. Um,
Yes, they mentioned that.
does I'm maybe I'm just not reading subtext clearly enough,
Mhm.
but are they implying or just outright stating that he got removed from Congress because they said something about him not completing even a half term or something?
Well, I get that might have just been an implication from Val, like, oh, after this, I mean, you're gonna get removed. Like that's how I interpreted it, at least. And also the other scene I want to know from Bucky, I love, even though it doesn't result in anything, when Sentry's fighting everybody and Bucky's the last one, and he takes off his jacket and he's getting ready to run after him, and the way they set that up was so cool, man. I was like, man, Bucky is just the best, and he just goes for it and nothing, nothing.
Yeah, I'm guessing also that like Bucky couldn't concurrently hold a position in Congress and also be a new Avenger at the same time.
No,
Like,
no way.
there's no way. So, like I'm sorry, Bucky. I would have voted for you. Just saying.
Yeah.
Eh. Red Guardian. He I was actually quite impressed with the way they handled him in this movie. Like I said before, that I
Hmm.
find him annoying, and I still do, but they actually gave him something to do rather than being the drunken fat slob to make jokes at. Like he actually did a little more. Like he was a good I don't want to say motivator, but he was a good inspiration for Yelena to like
Hmm.
say, okay, maybe I need to do something different with my life. And he mentioned he goes when the people in Russia looked up to me, I felt like a god. I felt great. This was the best time of my life because I felt like I was doing something by helping people. And then that's what sets that seed in her mind. And
Right.
that's where she kind of goes from there and is like, maybe I should do more than just do assignments and killing people.
Hmm. I mean, looking at the whole cast, I think of every single character, he probably took the biggest step up for me, at least, honestly, from like his last appearance to his next appearance. I think he was so much better in this movie, and I didn't even dislike him in Black Widow as much as other people, but I think that in this movie specifically, he really just became so much more relatable, like we were saying earlier. I think that his storyline and just becoming a better father is really something so many people can relate to, and just wanting to connect with your daughter. I think that's a really beautiful way of going through it in this movie, and down from the silly ways to the more serious moments that we get at the end, and obviously him saying "Jelena." from the limo, like you were saying. Like
That was so
that's such a
funny. That was
cute
so
and
funny.
funny scene. Like that's such a dad moment. And like
That's a
those,
dad. Yeah.
and like me, I'm obviously young. I'm only 24, but like when I think about those things, like man, when I'm a dad one day, I want to do dumb shit like that. I want to be the embarrassing dad waving at my kid. Like those are such moments. I'm like, that's just heartwarming. Honestly, I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's about all I got to say on Red Guardian.
yeah, we talked
I'm,
about him
I'm
already,
more
but
glad with what they did than what
me
they didn't
too.
do. Let's move to Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. Don't
Day
forget the duh.
Fonte. Don't forget the
Otherwise,
duh
you're the minister or you're the secretary of defense. She was
Okay.
actually quite funny in this movie, but it was just
Yes.
kind of like I don't know. I mean, I know she's the real villain in this movie. She's the one that sets everything apart. I'm just surprised that what got me was at the end is that she allowed herself to get got by them, and
Hmm.
clearly they have some hold on her because
Yes.
in the post-credit scene, which we'll discuss at some point, they're in there, they have new suits, they have all this tech, they have all this access, I mean, like all that stuff. So like what is she doing now? I guess she holds her post, but she's more of a puppet to their notions.
Right.
What do you think?
And, looking at her character, I think that, like you said, it is interesting that she got so easy in the
Because
end.
she's
And
like a mastermind. She's always so
right.
many steps ahead. It's like you got by a bunch of depressed,
Yeah.
sad, lonely, lack of purpose people. Like
She said it. They're losers.
they're
She calls them
losers.
losers. Right.
And you got by the group of losers and a meth addict.
Right. I think that ultimately she's one of those characters where like, and this happened in some movies with villains, like the villain almost doesn't matter because they're not really that important to the movie. Like
Yeah.
she's not really,
But
honestly.
she's also really arrogant. She never thought
Right.
that they would have unified. Because when Mel says like, "Hey, they're working together," he goes, "Yeah, right." Like, like no way they'd work together. Well, they are, and it's happening, and now you need to do something about it.
Like, is she really interesting? No. Like to
No,
me at least, she's not. But it
no,
also doesn't matter. Like it's what she represents within this story that matters. The person that's getting Sentry to become the Sentry, that's doing this irresponsible thing and making this drug addict into a hero when he can't handle something like this. She's like ironically the plot character of this movie. In this very character-driven movie, she is the plot character that's doing all these things to move the plot forward, and that's fine. She works
yeah,
as that, and her character is fine because she's a good actress and she's funny, like you said. It's like how I feel there's some villains in the MCU, like in Guardians 1, Ronan for me. Like the character isn't that interesting to me personally at
not at
all.
all, to be honest.
But I think the movie's a 10 out of 10 because of the same kind of reasoning, honestly. It's all about the characters and their
He
chemistry
brings them together.
and
He gives
right,
them a
and exactly,
motivation. He makes it
right.
all happen. Yeah, I
Exactly. So
get you.
like that's how I feel about Val. Like she represents that in this movie. And because of that, she doesn't bring the movie down in any capacity, even though
No,
herself is not really that interesting. It doesn't matter, you know?
no, but it's funny. Like there at the end, it's like she tries to get them by
Yes.
having that press
And
conference,
then she
but
gets,
then they
yeah,
flip it right
they
on. Like,
flip it.
all
Yeah.
right, we'll allow it, but we own you. We
Right.
own you. Like the way that Yelena not only worded it, but the way she just said it, you're like, ooh, yeah, she does. You definitely belong to them now.
Hmm. Yeah.
I want to talk about Mel. Mel was such a great character. She
Hmm.
didn't have a whole lot of screen time. Also, Geraldine is an incredibly beautiful woman, and I just want to rewatch the movie just to see her more because that is an insanely attractive woman that has never graced the screen for me before, and I feel so sad about that. But I love Ayo Adebari. She's great in The Bear,
Hmm.
but I'm really glad that they ended up with Geraldine because she was great. She didn't have to spend a whole lot of time on screen, but she still did a great job. As someone who used to live in DC, I love her wording when she calls Bucky, "Hey, I know you just moved here, but I want a network." When I tell you that DC is the network central of the country, it is. Like you don't get anywhere in DC without networking. So I like that they respect that and kind of brought that vernacular in.
Hmm.
But she was great. Like I love how she at first was like, all right, I'm going to do what my boss says. I'm going to follow orders. But she had her own moral compass saying, okay, now I'm starting to feel kind of shitty about these things. I'm starting to feel a little bit conflicted about exactly what we're doing because I'm seeing my boss's choices and how she's treating all these people as non-human. They're
Mhm.
disposable. This may come down and come back to bite me where she finds me disposable. So let me do the right thing. And she kind of does. I don't want to say she's like this awesome, great, has no gray area. She definitely has a gray area, but like
Mhm.
when she finally realizes like, oh, this is kind of messed up, that she starts to like course correct.
Yeah, I agree. I think she was a good addition to this cast. I really enjoyed Mel. Like you said, not a lot of screen time, but when she is on screen, I think she does a wonderful job. Very minor character within the story that is carried by the actress because of her screen presence, and I really like what she brings to the role. I thought she was very likable. I think she's very relatable, and then kind of like what we've seen with our anti-heroes here, there is a morally gray element to her where she doesn't really know what's right, what's wrong to some degree, and she's kind of figuring that out. But once she does, she makes the right choice, and she understands that what they're doing to Sentry is just, or what they're doing to Bob is ridiculous. Like she called Bucky said, like this guy is not good news. Like he cannot have these powers. This is going to be
Yeah.
a disaster. She knew it immediately, and she was right. And it was interesting that she comes back at the end too, to press the button to save Val, and Val's like, "Oh, you came to your senses, thank God." And it's
But I
like,
want a pay raise.
right.
I'm still money motivated.
Exactly. And that's where it's interesting because she is not just clearly not just a good person. It's that simple. She definitely has that morally gray element you're bringing up. And interestingly, they pointed out, and I remember this was a rumor for a while, she might,
Songbird.
yeah, Songbird, which seemingly is still on the table. I forgot who said it. It was in an interview with somebody from the movie, but
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking
yeah,
about.
it,
Yeah,
it was somebody that was actually like
in the
involved.
yeah
So yeah. So I thought that was at least an interesting comment. So I wonder if that comes into play. And given that people, I'm sure, enjoyed her during the movie, it's very possible that does happen. You know?
yeah. One thing real quick, she does have that one conversation with Val early on, like about doing the right thing. That was just a really great conversation when they
Oh
were
yeah,
inside of
yeah,
the
yeah.
limo the first time.
Right.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that conversation between them. I can't remember, and I'm not even going to try to paraphrase because right now I'm blanking out. But like
Mhm.
that was a great conversation, and Val's not entirely wrong. That was the thing, and I think that's where she was kind of like having that conflicted moment where like
Oh, it was such a
Val's
great, it's a great line. I'm trying to remember it now too. It was like a really good line from Val. I
yeah, it was like
can't think of it.
doing the right thing and saving the world are almost like two different things.
Mm,
Like, sometimes you have to like cut corners and such, but like that was a great conversation.
yeah.
And I'm glad that she had it with Val because she had to like remember her boss's words later on, like, and she kind of used them against it, like, okay, sometimes doing the right thing is working against self-interest. And in this case, yeah, she's like, I'm gonna go and tattle on my boss to Bucky because that is the right thing to do.
Hmm.
But yeah. But let's let's go to Century and then we'll
Yeah.
finish with Yelena.
Okay, cool.
I really enjoy what they did with Century.
Mhm.
I was like, again, I mentioned earlier that I was surprised about the whole meth thing. That was an incredible angle to use, and I just love that Bob was so, what's the word, surrendering of
Mhm.
himself throughout the film, and like he didn't really care so much about himself that he cared about everyone else. That he's like, if you got to do this for the sake of getting out, then do it. If, I'll turn myself in. And then he even does exactly that. He
Right.
makes a sacrifice play, runs off with that one rifle, and shoots off to make a distraction so that they can get away from it all.
Hmm. Yeah, he's very much a selfless character in that sense. He really is there to help these people he just met, and that's because, well, I think he genuinely has a good heart, but B, he also doesn't really care for his life that much at that point in the movie. We talked about this earlier. He was kind of indifferent to whether or not he makes it out of there. And he was definitely suicidal. He was a meth addict and he went through a lot. And as somebody who really enjoyed reading the comics by Paul Jenkins, who created the character, I read it just because I knew he was going to be part of this movie and I wanted to get that background on him. And I mean, knowing that background, I think they handled him so well. He feels ripped right out of the comics, and except with an MCU twist, but I mean that in
Yeah.
a positive way. They do their own thing with him, and I think that it suits what this world is. I think maybe like I noted, you could have done a little more with like the drug side of what he's had to go through, but even without that, I think his character works so well in this movie, and I love the fact that Lewis Pullman, man, he is a powerhouse
Lewis is
here.
great.
I mean, I look, Stephen Yeun, I'm sure would have done great. It's Stephen Yeun. He's a great actor, and I think he
Yeah.
would have But the thing is, I think they both would have brought something totally different to the role, honestly. And I think what Lewis Pullman brought matches the character more than I think what Stephen Yeun would have brought. Just
Steven
like
Yeun
from
would have been more like Incredible, where he's just like
right.
like a lot of angst, like
Yeah,
anger
right.
versus Lewis doing more of
There's like a
or
sadness
like
to
a
his
yeah, sadness,
character.
depression,
Yeah.
like all that. One thing I really enjoyed was that he went from like, oh, I'm gonna do what you're saying because you're gonna help me, to that moment with Val. He's like, I'm a god. Why should I listen to you?
Hmm.
Dude, when he said that, when that moment happened, I actually got literal chills on my arm. I'm like, he's
Yeah.
right. Why should he listen to you?
Right.
And I was surprised he didn't just kill her in an instant without even like trying, because it would have taken him absolutely nothing to kill her. Like he was actually being kind of like, I'll let you talk, while he held her up against the wall, which gave Mel the opportunity to hit the kill switch that didn't
Right.
kill him.
I mean,
I really thought that Val was gonna die right then and there. Like
yeah.
I was like, it'd be like me, stomping on a bug. It's nothing. He's a
Right.
god.
Literally a god. Like, think about how powerful he was. I mean, the I will say this, I didn't even talk about the actual fight scene with him, but I love the way they executed it. They had that like one shot for like the second half of the fight, and it looked so cool, dude. The way they highlight his powers, you like they're shooting the bullets at him, he like freezes them, shoots them right back at
I
him,
love a
and
good
oh
Matrix.
my God, it's so cool. I
That's a cool
mean,
Matrix reference, man. That's
and
like
like,
respect
yeah,
for that.
using telekinesis, fucking flings Red Guardian out the window, brings him right back. Like this guy is would take out Thor like in an instant. Like he
Yeah,
would take out a guy, the God of Thunder, like
yeah.
he would take Hulk out like a
Well, that's what they were
bum.
saying. He like, wasn't it almost word
Stronger
for
than all
word
the
like, you're
Avengers
stronger
rolled
all
into
the in
one.
row in one? And he's like,
And he
well,
is.
the Avengers have a god on their team, so that makes me
Right.
stronger than a god. And I'm like, oh my god, they're right.
Like,
Like
yeah, he's right. Like,
that's
literally,
scary.
Sentry is legitimately the most powerful character in Marvel history. And that's the thing one people can that people struggled with the character for so long after Paul Jenkins had such a unique angle with the drug addiction, with the mental illness. After they established that, a lot of writers didn't really know how to use him. They kind of just come in as like ooh, we need a really strong guy to beat this giant threat. Here's Sentry, and he'd kind of come in to do it. And it's like he's so much more than that. And I'm happy that this movie really shows that. And now I actually ironically think they might kind of use him that way in these movies probably where he is the big strong threat that kind of comes in to fight Doom maybe because if
Yeah,
anyone could
kind of
beat
treat him like the way
right,
they did
Captain
Hulk in Age
Marvel.
of Ultron.
Oh, wrong idea. But
Well, just
that too kind
that's
of though.
also that's a
Yeah.
great one too. Just like
Yeah.
hey, we really need some firepower. You know what? I got a solution to this. Like you said, Captain
Right.
Marvel shows up and really she turned the tide of that battle.
Yes.
And in the same way, Hulk turned the tide of the battle in Age of Ultron when they got him in. Like, wow.
Yeah, man. I am so interested to see how they use him when we get to Doomsday. I am so excited to see more of this character and more of that suit. Oh my God, I adored it. But MCU lines, panic attack. But I love the suit because
Honestly, I like the suit enough.
people are so
There's
scared of lines. They don't get it. They're
I
so
don't
scared of lines. Like
I
they see
don't
lines, they get
care.
like they like, run away and cower.
No, but one thing I found really hilarious and like spot on was when Yelena enters the compound, she's looking at this desk that has a bunch of documents and she picks up one and it's got a bunch of different hairstyles and stuff. They
Yes.
did market research on what would be the most effective superhero
Yes.
look. And I was like, as a business major, I was like, all right, that's pretty funny. Because they had like all the different haircut styles, like the ones you would see in the comics and stuff. And they were like looking at which one would be the most effective to make him a likable character, which is like a weird, it reminds me of the boys, how they do like heavy
Yeah.
amount of work to figure out what makes them the most appealing character and stuff. But to see the MCU do it and then like actually have the report shown with all the things, that was very funny.
Yeah, I think that's a great call. I mean, look, I think the suit was going to look the same either way. But contextually, though, I do get that point, though. It actually makes even more sense, though, with that background of what really is the most market friendly here. What's going to
And they
appeal
had
to
all the
most
little
people?
logos too,
Yeah.
like they're
Hmm.
like they decided on this one, which is great one. That I love what they picked.
Yes.
That was just so funny.
Yeah, man.
So obviously a big thing about this whole movie is mental health.
Yeah.
There's themes of unity, like finding your purpose within yourself, facing personal demons, trials, tribulations, past. Like that was the focus of this movie, right? It wasn't just like, oh, we're making a film where we fight this super strong guy. Like, we're fighting ourselves from within, and that's really hardcore subject matter for them to dive into. And I love the way they handled it. Now, a lot of people are saying like this is the best thing ever to handle mental health. I'm like, this isn't a therapy session, and I don't mean it in a bad way. I just mean that, like, pump your brakes. This is more of a display of what mental illness can look like, how it fosters within, how it can attack someone and make them feel a certain way. Like Yelena, that monologue in the beginning is something I've said to myself, said, to others, explaining myself. And I'm just very impressed by the accuracy of how they handled that.
Yeah, I mean the display of mental health across this whole movie I thought was really brilliantly done. I thought again it was very tasteful, but also you really felt it as an audience member. It didn't feel like something you couldn't understand or couldn't relate to because, like you said, everybody struggles with mental health to varying degrees, of course. But I think that the little struggles every character has in this movie, and that's the one thing I will say, if you were gonna give a purpose to like the one void scene with Val, it's the fact that everybody has something.
Yep.
That's the one thing I would say it does contribute to the story, at least to that theme that everybody struggles, everybody has something, even
Regrets, past,
right,
just
whatever it may
etc.
be, right. And I think that it's what, again, it's what makes the movie so beautiful and great. Without it, the movie falls flat on its face. 100% it does.
Yeah,
And
there
that's
was like an
the,
interesting
yeah.
coping mechanism where Yelena says, "I'm throwing myself into work," and even that it doesn't work. And people do
No,
that.
I've
They don't.
done that. I did that
Yeah,
once. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
I was doing that with school this semester. I'm like, I'm just gonna throw myself into school, and then like all of a sudden it caught up to me, and I'm like, I should probably address these other things. And it's like that. That's real. It's tangible.
Hmm. Sorry, I got distracted because I saw there's DC news that came out. It got my attention.
Uh, Save it for the end, and then
Yeah, no, I'm gonna save it for later. I just
yeah,
read the
yeah.
headline.
No, no, you're good.
Uh,
What did you think about the void, like how they presented it? I was surprised, one, by like how they did the intro to the Marvel Studios with like the comic flipping pages and everything, and then they like had it going dark, the music starting to soften up, like the black overtaking the logo. Like that was really
mhm,
cool. A nice little literal foreshadowing because they were shadowing the logo.
mhm,
um but what really got me was that it wasn't like a singular object. Like they were going through rooms, and
mhm,
it kind of made me think like, okay, this is like we're inside of someone's mind. Like these are the different things that they think about, that they endure. You had a Yelena going through getting that other girl assassinated. You had a Yelena having to skipping out on getting punished with all the other Black Widow girls because she did the task first and best. And then another one where she's facing her literal self steeped in alcohol, where she's drinking vodka straight out of a bottle. I mean, you know how hardcore out of it you have to be to get to that point where you're drinking hard liquor straight from a bottle while like hanging your head ready to puke by a toilet. Like that was just, it was deep. Or the abuse that Bob was enduring
yeah,
from his father. Like these aren't easy things to like uh to share, and yet they did.
mhm. Yeah, no, they were very forthcoming with this story. They were very forthcoming with these characters, and I'm happy to not have a movie with one-dimensional characters because that's kind of what I felt with certain MCU movies in Phase 4 and 5, where they just didn't feel layered. They just felt like said characters. Like I don't like when that.
Caricatures.
Yeah, like that always is the most annoying thing when you feel that with the character, and all these people felt real. Like I could meet them on the street. Like they just
Yeah.
felt like people. And I
Someone you
think
talk to on the subway.
right. And the fact that they feel like people, I think allows non-MCU fans to even like this kind of movie. And I think that's why this movie is going to do wonders, honestly, for the future of Marvel, because the box office numbers aren't crazy in this movie, but I think that it will pay huge dividends for where they're going and helping rebuild trust. And I think that's such a big thing, man, because
Yeah.
Marvel lost so much trust with people, and I think that this is the start of them getting it back. I got very honestly, the word of mouth on this movie and the way people are talking about it it feels even different than when Guardians of the Galaxy 3 happened. And that's not because Guardians was any worse or anything. I think Guardians was better. But I think the talk surrounding that was, oh, it's the third movie of this trilogy that's been established as good already. It's James Gunn, yada, yada, yada. It's not building towards the story. Like, this is everything. It's a brand new story with different characters that haven't been on the big screen in some of their cases. And we're seeing them in
Well,
this, well, really all of them actually, but you know what I mean. But
all but
John Walker,
John Walker, yeah, but and
but
Val
still,
technically.
underutilized characters, I'll say, but
There you go. Yeah.
that maybe not everybody loved in some cases or really grew overly attached to. But now we're seeing that the fact of the matter is people like where they're building, people like this individual self-contained story, and I think that people can't make any excuses about it now. They can't say the CGI looks bad. They can't say the
No,
filmmaking isn't good. They
no.
can't say the story isn't good. They can't say this is made by X director. This is all stuff that was done by Kevin Feige and Marvel to tell a different and unique story by a director they pulled in for his first MCU movie that did not have anything pre-existing in the comic book world. This is exactly what I think fans needed to say, oh, this is it. This
Do you,
is where we move up. And this
do
is
you remember
Pittsburgh.
the like little promo they did where it was just like that really loud like techno song, and they were like from the writers of
Oh, the
Truth and the
A24 ad.
Bear. Yeah,
Yeah.
that one. I'll be honest, I felt like that was a really desperate play, but now that I've
I
seen the
think it
movie, I
was
was like, I mean,
right.
I I don't want to say it's not desperate, but I don't want to say it is desperate. It was just more like, what are y'all trying to get at here? Like, are you saying this is something different? And it was. Unfortunately, I didn't I didn't know that at the time, so I was like, this is such a weird, like, I don't want to say decision, but like a weird angle to put this movie at, to promote it this way, like, oh, this movie's different because it's got this and this and this and this and this. And I'm like, okay, I mean, when I see it for myself, I'll dictate that a little bit better. But then the movie came out and I watched it and I'm like, oh my God, why didn't y'all just say this from the beginning? Because it shows.
Yeah, no, I agree. They needed to revamp the process. And I'm not going to talk about this today. Maybe next time we can get into it. But there was an article that came out from the Wall Street Journal with like a ton of updates on
Yeah.
like, yeah, Marvel's process and stuff and like how things have changed, how things were not working like in the 2020s or early 2020s. And
Yeah.
and honestly, I was very fascinated by the whole article. And I'm looking forward to having a chance to discuss that a little bit maybe next week
For sure.
because
Next week we can talk about that one in depth.
because there's a lot in there that I think we can really dive into about just where they're going and why at least for me, I'm a little more optimistic, not just because of this movie, which obviously fills me with a lot of hope, but just the process I think they're starting to implement and really show that they care about the fans and they care about these characters and stories. And I always did believe that. It's just the process was very flawed, clearly.
Yeah.
Kevin
It
Feige is somebody that obviously cares. If you've seen the man talk, you know he cares about these characters and he
very
cares
much
about
so.
Marvel. To ever deny that would be silly. If you want to question whether or not his process was working or that things made sense as they were going, totally
Valid.
different discussion. It's a totally valid thing to feel, and I felt that myself for a while. And clearly, we were right to some degree, at least. I mean, people in Marvel are admitting it, and this Wall Street Journal really sheds a lot of light on that. So, um, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to discussing that, but props to the MCU for taking this risk, man, because it's paying off at least on a quality level, and I think they're going to make enough money to pat themselves on the back at least, because I don't think it's going to drop very much. Because word of mouth right now, man, that is huge with any movie.
Um, I'm just gonna ask how much time you got because I don't want to keep you going.
Um, I got time, but honestly, do you want to? Well, do you have any more time this week? To do another one or no?
We could probably do it later this week. I just wanted
Because
to like, we still got a few things to talk about in this movie, and I don't know.
honestly, it's more because like we can finish up the Thunderbolt stuff, but it's more that the other stuff is going to take a while.
Okay, then
Like
yeah,
all like
let's
yeah.
talk Thunderbolts, and then we'll do the other stuff later this week.
Okay, yeah.
Um, because like there's the stuff I want to talk about. There's quite a bit. Taskmaster. Um, we kind of already talked about it, but like, dang, I wasn't expecting her to get off so quickly that like she only showed up for 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Like,
Yeah, it was very brief, and I personally, like I was saying earlier, thought it would be Sentry that kills Taskmaster, so I was definitely surprised to see it play out in the way it did. And again, I have to remove myself from expectations
yeah,
because that changes the way I feel. Objectively, what they did was fine. Like it doesn't matter. But when you go in knowing like, oh, it's this character that is beloved by a good amount of people, and well, granted, it wasn't beloved in the MCU, but the character in the comics was beloved by many. Um, and they just get killed off so quickly, it's a shock, and it kind of does probably annoy people. And granted, I wasn't really annoyed about it, but I can understand at least why certain fans would be. Like, I wouldn't get upset at people for being annoyed because I understand that, especially if you're
yeah,
like a Taskmaster fan. Yeah, you probably would be upset, and that would bother you, and I wouldn't blame you for that because you lost a character you really were excited to see on the big screen here. Again, if in a follow up to Black Widow, essentially, and they're killed off immediately with the one speaking line, and that was it.
yeah, and that they didn't really establish much. Like
No,
Lena says, like, yeah, she had like this tragic history, blah blah blah, and then that's about
that was it.
it. And
That
it's
was
like,
it.
okay, I mean, I know they had other things to talk about and to move on, but like, they really just kind of brushed her aside. Which for Olga, girl, get that bag. I'm sure you got
Yeah,
paid a
for
lot of money for
real.
being there for all of 5 minutes. Like, I'm happy for you, but like, man, it makes you wonder: did she want to get out of it? Did she care? Does this affect her? Like, those are things I kind of think about. I'm like, does she like say like, damn, I kind of wanted to keep going, but I wasn't able to. So I don't know. But I do like that we got a lot of connective tissue to a couple of Ant-Man and the Wasp with Ghost and Falcon and Winter Soldier and Black Widow, like tying kind of some of those things back together into this movie was really cool because it it served a greater purpose of like saying like, hey, you've already seen some of what these people have been going through and what's happened, so like here's a little more of them, like here we go, but without wasting time on it.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, no, I do. I'm trying to think, like, I don't know how I because I remember that they were saying with Taskmaster, I think it was maybe Schreier who said it, but or no, maybe it was the writer, but somebody involved with the movie. They were saying essentially that I think Taskmaster was gonna die like in later in the movie, if I remember right. Please don't
Mm-hmm.
quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And they said that that death would have later in the movie would have just been a weird tonal shift and it wasn't gonna work in the context of what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that means exactly or like how that death would have played out. And it actually makes me wonder, like, would that have been in the building when they go to fight Sentry? Like, would Sentry have killed Taskmaster there, maybe? If like the plan was later in the movie, and I don't know. And if so, like, would that really have changed the tone? Like, I wonder what they really had in mind in that initial script for the future of the character. Not even like what the role of the character was, because we know that to a degree. We know it would have been that friendship with Ghost. And we probably would have learned a little bit. Oh, and they mentioned there would have been a running gag with
Or trying to
past
kill
yeah.
John.
And honestly, that sounds kind of funny. I think that would have been fun. But
That would have been decent. Yeah.
you know, it's a big what if for me, honestly. It's a very fun and intriguing what if because there is a world where I think the movie genuinely could have been better with Taskmaster. But I also do understand that the pacing was really a highlight of this movie, and maybe it would have derailed that a bit.
Yeah.
So again, I try to look at this as objectively as I can because as a nerd, I want to see more of everything. But also, I understand that sometimes that's not the best thing, and there could be overloaded movies sometimes. So, no, the way they handled everything there is really interesting, and I'm curious to see if we get even more details on that at some point, maybe from Olga herself. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Um, so I'd say let's talk about the alternative ideas they had for this film, and then let's go to like the ending of it.
yeah,
So they had an idea of basically doing almost the same plot from Captain America: Brave New World, where
literally.
Val would have convinced John that his super soldier serum was starting to decay,
Mhm.
and that she was going to find a way to feed him something to turn him into basically a Hulk bomb or a bomb.
Right. Yeah.
I am beyond grateful they never went that route because I really enjoyed what they did with John in this film. And
Hmm.
also just like imagine getting two movies in the same year where with the same thing of turning people into Hulks. I'm sure Hulk fans would have loved it, but this just felt like gratuitous. So
No, that would have been bad.
there's a
Yeah,
huge relief that that didn't happen. But you mentioned to me that they had some alternative ideas for the post credit scene. I don't
yeah,
know what they are, so I'm gonna listen to you
sure.
tell me what they are.
Yeah, I mean, they were looking at Kang as one of them. They didn't really specify what they were going to do with Kang, hypothetically, but they were considering Kang for the ending of the movie. And the other option was Baron Zemo. And with Zemo, the implication was going to be that he was pulling the strings the whole time, kind of, and that he was responsible for the actions of that happened in this movie, basically. And that would have been that role, and he would have been like doing it all from prison, I guess. And that would have been a little lazy, honestly. I wouldn't have liked that personally. But
Yeah.
and I think there was, and I think those are the main two. There might have been even one other. Oh, this wasn't about that necessarily, but they mentioned that they never considered Red Hulk for the movie, by the way. Like it was never even a discussion, really.
Yeah, because for those
Um,
who don't know, in the comics, they named themselves after Thunderbolt Ross because
right.
that's his nickname. But obviously, they went a completely different route with that, which I don't. It doesn't affect me at all. They didn't even stick with the name. They're called the New Avengers,
Yeah.
which brings us to the end. You know, the fact that Val is just so, I don't know what's the word, bold to like say these are the new Avengers. Like here they are. Like no hesitation on her end whatsoever to just start calling them that. I was
Mhm.
surprised by that. You know, you'd think somebody who's, well, no, actually, it goes kind of in line with Val. She's a oh, man, there's a really good word for it. It's just escaping me now.
Are you trying to look for a word that means like self-preserving kind of person, or
No,
no?
no, no,
That's my thought. She'll do whatever it takes to
no.
save
It's a
herself,
buzzword
but
in business, but it's just escaping me right now. It's like a, oh man, really? Right now I have to forget. Like a
uh,
change maker, like a shaker, man. Anyways, she's just like one that's okay with challenging things and making them different. I mean, she does a lot of crazy stuff behind the scenes and kind of stands by it in the end.
mhm.
Um, so it's it's just not entirely surprising that she would go with that, but it's still very bold to just come out and say these are the new Avengers, and then not just that, but like that's also their name, New Avengers. Not like these are the new Avengers, these are the Avengers that are new, but like the new
New
Avengers.
Avengers.
I
Yeah.
that was like an interesting little detail. I mean, little things like that just kind of make things better. Which I think it's hilarious that Sam Wilson had trademarked Avengers
Yeah.
and that in all this time, Tony Stark never once had that copyrighted under Stark Industries.
Of all people, I was gonna say I feel like he'd be the guy to do that, but
Yeah, I mean, he
yeah.
has the considerable resources to do it. Like,
Right.
it's just funny to me that like this whole time you're telling me for, you know, almost 20 years now in universe, no one thought to copyright that. Not even a patent troll. Like somebody could like, oh, I'm gonna get that so that Tony Stark will pay me $1 billion or $1 million or whatever to like get those rights back.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so it was just funny. Like I don't say it in a bad way. It's just funny like that, oh, this copyright didn't get grabbed this whole time.
Mhm.
Um so like that, which kind of segues me into the whole post credit scene where they're sitting there in the watchtower. uh Random thought aside real quick, I was really surprised that because they named it the watchtower that they didn't use Jimi Hendrix all along the watchtower for the final scene,
Oh,
because
yeah.
how awesome would that have been?
Yes.
That would have been really really cool. But they're sitting there and you know they're calling upon all this tech and stuff that they got from Val probably, and they see the Fantastic Four rocket flying in. You know, you see the rocket turn, you see the big four on the side, the music kind of plays. What do you think?
I thought it was pretty epic, dude. And it's interesting that this scene was actually directed by the Russos. And you could tell a difference in the style, like right away, honestly. The coloring of the scene is totally different. And for what it's worth, I don't think it looked bad. I mean, I saw some of the Doom comments of, "Oh, we're back to the Russos look." I'm like, I thought it looked fine, but
I
okay.
didn't I didn't
But
even realize they did it. So
yeah, I mean, it looked fine. But I will say it was cool little details in that scene though, like the new suits that they were all wearing.
hell yeah.
I love Bucky's. Bucky's I think looks great.
His
I love
haircut is just something else though.
yes.
I don't
No, it's cool. I'm
I mean
with it.
I don't dislike it. I'm just like it's very very 70s. His and Ghosts.
Yes.
Reminds me like a, like it looked like damn it, what are the name? Never Fleetwood Mac is what I thought of,
Oh, okay,
and
okay,
Bee Gees,
gotcha. I can see that.
just very flared out, like
Yes. And
Uh,
I like John Walker's little beret. I thought that was a fun little addition.
I love the beret. I think it's a
Yeah,
great look because it goes back to his time as an Army Ranger because that's a
right.
uniform. I thought that looked really good. I'm glad they did that.
And
Yelena's
what?
hair looks very
Yeah.
cool. Like it's very modern, but like fits her to
Yes.
keep it short.
My
Uh,
question though, why do you think he still keeps the bent shield?
yeah, that's a great question. I guess it's
Yeah.
just more of like a joke or like it's something that he manufactured himself and he's proud of it. But I'm surprised between him, Bucky, and Red Guardian that they haven't bent it back into shape because they're strong enough. They're three super soldiers. Why haven't they just
Right.
done that? But
Mhm.
I don't know. I guess for him, it's like a memory. Like, hey, this is the time
Yeah,
to
but
be.
maybe it's a marketing thing, honestly, because I remember in the end credits they were showing him riding it like a horse or something. Maybe like he has to keep it or something for marketing purposes. I don't know, but
Yeah, maybe.
yeah.
I mean, what's better than tacos? Today's Taco Tuesday, so I'm always about
Yeah.
tacos. But yeah, I mean the whole thing, it's great at the end, and I love they're they're being proactive, right? That they're like, hey, there's something in the atmosphere. Let's kind of check
Yes.
that out. The only thing that kind of got me was how dumb they made John look. It was kind of silly, but it's not like, oh wow, that's he was a dumbass throughout the movie as well. So like, what's new?
Hmm.
But which kind of leads me now that they're the new Avengers. This this is going to be very opinion based because some people are very heated either side of how it is.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not entirely crazy about the fact that they revealed the new Avengers thing, and I understand that they were going to do it to begin with, but it was more the fact that they did it within 3 days of release because like a lot of people didn't get the chance to watch the movie this weekend. People have
Hmm.
lives and jobs and schedules and families and things to take care of where they're not like, well, I'm going to make it a point to go see Thunderbolts this weekend. I saw one gentleman arguing with that, like, well, you should have taken the time, and it's like
Well, that's silly, I think. But I don't think that makes sense.
people have other things and priorities. Watching a
Right.
movie should not be a priority unless you want it to be. Like I
Right,
understand.
sure, but
Like
like,
I made time to go and see it,
but not
but
everybody has that luxury, though. I mean,
exactly.
yeah.
So when I saw that being mentioned, I'm just like, well, I don't know. It just kind of feels disrespectful for the fact that there was a lot of people that didn't get to see it because it's not like they just showed it in the movie. They did, and they did it on some billboard, which they also did. But it's that they posted on Facebook, Twitter,
Everywhere.
Instagram, and all these socials have literally millions upon millions of followers. So like all these people that didn't see this movie this weekend, they'll see,
Right.
hey, new post, they'll click on it, and then they'll see that, which is the big stinger of the film. And I know that people are the other argument is, well, there's an asterisk on Thunderbolts. Cool, but people didn't know exactly what words were being used for that. It could have been anything.
Hmm.
And I feel bad for those people that didn't get to experience it the natural way of seeing that rip off of the name
Uh-huh.
there at the end of the movie.
Yeah, no, I think that's valid. I mean, everyone did have a different experience with it, and maybe I would have felt that way if like I didn't get to see it and then I found out. Maybe that I would have been more bothered by it. I
Yeah.
mean, I'll say this from a marketing perspective, I think it's genius. Just from a pure business perspective, I think it's a genius move. I think it's going to get more eyes on this movie. I think it's very unique set of marketing to change the title and knowingly like it's one thing if it's like, oh, title ain't working, let's change it. This is no, we plan to change the
Yeah.
title
Yeah.
essentially. And I think and they had a lot of marketing stuff prepped for that, and I think that was cool. I like that from just a pure like money perspective. I think that will help the box office, honestly. But
Oh, business move wise, I think it's great.
I think it's great
I just don't. I'm a narrative
for
perspective
moviegoers.
is what I'm
Yeah,
saying. Like I just felt
sure.
bad for those that like weren't there this weekend to see
Yeah,
that and
yeah,
be like,
yeah.
oh, like wait, they're the new Avengers, and then it's gonna be like when you're watching the movie and they show that it takes away that shock factor.
I guess the only thing is I don't know how much it really changes the experience, honestly. Like to me at least. Like to me, it'd be one thing if it spoiled like a big part of the plot. This is like the
Right.
sting. This is like the stinger. Like the movie isn't about them become like
Yeah. Yeah.
becoming
I
those
can agree with
Avengers.
that.
Right. Like I still understand why you'd be upset, and I think that's totally valid. But like it's literally the last like 30 seconds of the movie, and it's just like a little stinger of like, hey, this is the thing now. And it's like
Well,
it doesn't change the road there at
no,
all.
no, no. This isn't like when Far From Home came out and there was a trailer for it in front of Endgame where you find out
That's
that
funny.
Tony Stark dies.
That's a
That was
whole
so
other
bad.
thing. Like that's
That
a whole
like
other thing.
luckily it's not like that level because I'm
Yeah.
like, dude,
No, but
oh
that's like a
come on.
core plot element, though. That's a
Yeah.
main part of the plot.
That is the big plot that Tony
That's what
makes
I'm
a big
saying.
sacrifice.
Right.
Like,
So like
luckily,
that's
it's
why
nothing in
it's
that level.
different.
I can forgive
Yeah.
it. But my main thing is like they couldn't just wait till like Wednesday or Thursday. Like, give it a week to breathe. Again,
Hmm.
not the worst thing in the world. I'm sure the movie's gonna do fine. I think it made 75 million this weekend, which is good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess it's just because I talk to people who aren't big comic. How about this? When I saw the screening on Sunday night, there were two
Uh-huh.
dudes next to me. One of them clearly MCU fan. He knew. And then
Yeah,
his
yeah.
buddy at the end goes, "Whose ship is that?" He didn't know it was the Fantastic Four. And I
Uh-huh.
know people are gonna like, well, it says four on the side. It's obvious. Not everybody knows that. Not
Right.
everybody keeps in line with everything. Some people are genuinely just like along for the ride. And this was that dude. And I'm like, now imagine if that dude, because he saw it Sunday night, didn't, and then woke up Monday and saw the new Avengers thing. That would have taken away part of the experience for him. Because at the end of the day, it's to experience these films as they're portrayed and intended as you go see them. Like, if you would have seen the Century fight beforehand, that would have taken a lot out of it. You'd be like, oh,
Right.
okay. They're doing good on the trailers of not showing too much. Not Captain America. That, no. But I can't harp on that any more than I already have this year.
Yeah,
But in
no.
this case,
With you.
it's like they did well of showing like, oh, there is this threat, but we're not going to like outright give it to you. They even just showed him as the Void, so you didn't see the yellow suit. You only saw him like fully blacked out.
Hmm.
So, but those are like the main thoughts I have of that. I mean, other
Yeah.
than that, it's fine. It's not like the end of the world. I just look at it because I am surrounded by so many casual moviegoers or casual MCU fans that don't keep a pulse on these things. Like, they don't know what's going on with Doomsday. They just know that there's a movie coming out. I'm pretty sure that half the people in my theater didn't even know that there's a Avengers movie coming out next year. They probably have no idea.
Hmm. Yeah, no, you're
So,
totally right. Not everybody knows that. I mean,
yeah.
and a lot of people don't know about these things until they see the trailer, and in theaters. So
In
for
theaters, yeah, because like we're
right.
there, like clicking on YouTube when we know that it's coming, and we're like, we'll watch it, and we'll watch it 5 times
Right.
over. Like,
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure that dude saw that Fantastic Four trailer for the first time on Sunday as well,
Probably. Yeah.
and he didn't even link it when he saw that trailer before, watched all of Thunderbolts, and probably didn't even manage to link it because some people just casually enjoy this.
Hmm.
Nothing wrong
No,
being a super fan
of
because
course.
that's what we are and that's what we do.
Absolutely.
But like I try to consider everybody because you know these films do well enough where they capture all these random people that there's some people that went and watched Infinity War and Endgame without watching a single MCU movie beforehand.
Hmm.
Like that's crazy to me. Not saying you had to, but like just imagine walking into that not seeing a single thing beforehand.
Right. I'm with you. That it's crazy to think about, honestly, the casuals as a super fan because like I can't put myself into their shoes,
No.
honestly. Like there's no way of me doing that.
Mm-mm.
I just can't imagine what that's like. But you have to consider their perspective because realistically, they're probably the majority,
They
like
make up more
casual.
of them than
Right.
we do of us.
Exactly. So it's
Yeah.
like you'd be foolish not to consider their opinion when looking at these kind of movies. You have to.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's interesting for sure.
Yeah. And I try to consider all those other ones just because like I'm on a college campus and I hear people talk about things and they don't know this, they don't know that. And I'm like, I'm not going to spoil it for you.
Yeah, yeah,
I'd much rather you find it out for yourself and really enjoy it.
exactly.
So yeah. But yeah, I
Um,
mean, Thunderbolts,
yeah,
great movie. Go see it.
amazing.
If you've
Yes.
already seen it, go watch it again. If you've already seen it again, go watch it a third time. Like this is one of the best things I've seen Marvel do in a long time. And
I'm
I'm
seeing
very
it a third
happy.
time. I am gonna see it a third time for sure.
I would go watch it a couple extra times, but I got other stuff to do. But
That's valid.
it's definitely worth it. I
Oh, it's
mean,
worth it.
if
Yeah,
I
it's
find
worth it.
myself with a little extra time, like I ain't got nothing else to do, I think I'll go watch it again. But I got plenty of summer blockbusters to watch, so
Yes.
I'm gonna put those on priority.
Yes.
But yeah, the Thunderbolts is great. I kind of hope that we get a sequel or because I love this group of characters. I'm really glad they're in Doomsday. I'm excited to see all of them again. I'm excited to see them interact with all the other people because of how their personalities are, and they have to clash with all these people who are actual heroes, even though
Yes.
they are heroes as well. But it'll be funny to see them. Like, what did you do? Well, we stopped something that we unleashed.
Hmm.
You know, like I know Sam
Yeah, yeah.
Wilson's face is going to be like, "You dumb."
Yeah, right.
Oh my God. It's y'all's fault. You're cleaning up the own mess that you made for yourself. Like, yeah, a little bit.
I
A little
cannot
bit.
wait to see those characters interact, dude. It's gonna be so fun. But
It's gonna be great.
yeah, man. Thunderbolts is a 9 out of 10 for me. I really loved it, and I cannot wait to see that follow up in Doomsday and see them interact with Sam Wilson's Avengers and see what that team looks like at that point. Because right now, who knows who's actually like on the official Avengers roster? I'm curious to see who makes up that team for Sam and who he's recruited and how the dynamic is going to go between those two groups and whether or not they're going to be fighting each other in this movie maybe early on before they team up or if they're going to be out with each other the whole way because they know about the threat. There's a lot of ways they can approach this, and I'm interested for sure.
I
Yeah.
really want to see if they show up with their knockoff Avengers uniform, like in Doomsday. Like if they would
Uh,
show up in that with the weird A,
I think
and
they will.
it'll just be hilarious. Where like Sam goes, "I will sue your ass." You know,
Yeah.
I know a damn good lawyer in New York that can help me.
Please find a way to
My
get
boy
Trent Cox.
Daredevil.
Get him
I
in
will always
here.
champion him. Always.
Even if it's just that one scene like that. That's cool. Get him in the movie. Get him in the
Like
movie.
you've been served.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Is
But
that
yeah, I
it?
think that's about it, man. I mean, we talked ad
An hour and a
nauseum.
half. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit, but it was worth it because there
Yeah,
was so much to
absolutely.
say.
This movie deserves the time,
Yes,
clearly.
it does.
But
Yes, it does.
all right, Marvin, this has been absolutely fantastic, everybody. We're going to be doing another episode probably later this week. We'll cover some of the DC news that came out over the last week, and we'll touch on that Wall Street Journal article from Marvel and maybe something else that pops up between now and then if it happens. But until then, this has been another wonderful episode of Capes and Crossovers. See you, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
That's a wrap on this episode of Capes and Crossovers. Thanks for joining me and Marvin on this journey through the world of heroes. If you enjoyed today's episode, share it with a fellow fan, and let's keep building a community rooted in sincerity and celebration. Until next time, keep your cape flying high and your hearts open to the next big crossover. See you next time.